What's up, yo? Want to make a video about my experience, CDL school. That's commercial driver's license for those that don't know. That's where you can drive the big rigs, just like this, big semi trucks. I'm in a line here working on getting unloaded right now. And got a little time to chat. Let's say hi to the dog. Hey, Molly. What's up, dude? We get a little tail wag for the people? No, not today, not right now. Okay, that's all right. She says, don't get me off that camera. But I want to talk about my experience. And I'll tell you, there's something kind of special. I'm 4 years into this. I've been running hard. I've been living in the truck. And, really just trying to make the best. I saw these tough times coming, and I really wanted to commit to this. I needed to change a pace. I needed to get a career going. And disclaimer, trucking is not for most people. Okay? We need less truckers out here. We need less trucks so that we can make more money on these loads, because it is garbage out here. It's hard to run a little trucking business out here. So this is not in any way, shape, or form any of my videos trying to help truckers get in the industry, because I'm sorry, I don't want you in here, to be honest. I'm gonna be honest. But maybe that'll be another video. I used to get on to people that didn't want to advocate for trucking because they didn't want more trucks and more drivers. But when you start trying to run a little business and more truckers means significantly less money, I get it now. But it's not for most people. That's why there's like a 90+% turnover rate. It's definitely a tough industry, and you're going to find that out at some point if you get into it. I'll tell you that right now. But it can be good. I will say that. That's the most thing I can say. I'm not advocating. I don't want any more people in the industry. But I can say it can be good if you buckle down, and if it's for you. It's just not for most people, okay? And you need to look into that. But I can tell you my experience when it comes to the CDL school, man, it's kind of like this really cool feeling. At least I got. I don't know what other people get, but I know me. There was something kind of special knowing that I'm getting ready to get a license that is going to allow me to make a lot more money, potentially. And that it's going to be a career. I'm starting what could be a career. And let me tell you, man, it was just such a cool feeling. It's especially when I got done with it, that feeling of success and accomplishment, that you did it. You went through all that. It's about a 3-week program. Maybe some of them can do 2 weeks. It's usually about a 3 or 4 week program from start to finish. And that level of accomplishment, like, man, I really legitimately probably just changed my life. And that's what it was for me. That feeling of, I don't know if it's feeling of like community, and I'm not that kind of guy. I'm a loner type. I don't really like people too much anymore. But let me tell you, that feeling, that it's kind of like a sorority kind of thing. It's where you get into it and you're all in it, not really together, but you're going through it at the same time. And it's actually not easy. That's why most people don't get their CDL and go through trucking school successfully first time. And that's one thing I'm proud of. I did it first time and passed my test and everything. And I'm proud of that. That's part of my resume. And I'm really proud of the little resume and career that I've established so far. I feel like I've made some good moves, and we'll be talking about some of that in other videos. Actually, in another video I posted, I talked about my journey so far. You should check that out. It's pretty cool. I think I've made some pretty good moves. And I'm just really proud of that. And that sense of, like, we're all in this to change our life, potentially. We're all in this to start a career. And that feeling of the process from the time that you enroll in a trucking school to the time that you're going through all that process to the time that you actually pass your test and get your CDL, and then to the next step, which is where everybody has to go through it, at least for the most part, right? It's kind of a sorority kind of thing where you have to spend usually 1 to 3 weeks with a trainer, another driver in their truck, going around the country. That is kind of like a ceremony. It's something that I think we can all say that we've gone through. Anybody that drives a truck, maybe there's some exceptions, I don't know. Especially back in the day there were. These days it's a lot more centralized, where you do have to go through a trucking school, you have to go through a process, and then when you get with the big carriers, you got to do this kind of thing. That whole thing where it's like you see a truck driver, you see someone driving a commercial vehicle. We went through that. It's kind of something that we've all been through, and you can share that experience, and it was something kind of special for me, to be honest. I wonder what other people feel like. Maybe I'll leave the comments open to see what other people experiences were and what they felt. I'm sure a lot of people didn't feel that way, but I know I did, because it's something that it's a shared experience that, yeah, I did that. We all did that. We went through that. Yeah, rookie driver, we had to do that too. And it's really something. It's really kind of special, to be honest. And it's good that we have that shared thing where it's like, yeah, we all had to go through that. It's kind of like, being different trades where they have, things that they have to do. And they all, we remember we did that too. We had to go through that, Now we're done with that, and we leveled up a little more. And, it's just something kind of special about that. But my experience, so what trucking school is a 1 to 3 week program. You enroll, and it's not cheap these days. I know the place I went to was, I think you get what you pay for. So go to the places that charge a little more if you can. I think you're going to get a better experience. I think you're going to get trained better, and that's going to show. It's going to show. And I think that you are going to have in my opinion, a higher chance of not dealing with the shady part. You're going to find out that the industry's pretty shady. There's some stuff that goes on, even at the trucking schools. And there's people that, take people's money. I had an experience with that. Maybe I'll share that. I actually even filed a local lawsuit for it. And let me tell you that, even back then, I think the more expensive place was like $5,000 for the whole process. And, these days I called them recently, and I was curious, with the Bidenomics inflation, I was curious, how much did it go up to, man? And I think they were pushing, almost $10,000. So it's like $9,000. And, maybe I'll get into another video on how to get your CDL. But, I'm just want to talk about the trucking school. So first, it starts out, every week is kind of divided up into things that have to be done and gone through. The first week of the usually 3-week program is you're in a classroom setting, and you have an instructor, and they're going by the book through the curriculum. Essentially, you're learning about the air brakes and the other things that you need to learn, and learning your pre-trips, learning different parts of the truck, and learning some different things like that. Learning, I got, to be honest with you, so long I hardly even reflect on everything. But you go through that, and that is just to get you to where they take you to a person that does the tests, either at the DMV physically or on behalf of the DMV. They're certified through that trucking school, and they do it on site. And usually on that Friday, after you've done the full week, it's either that Friday or it might start. Yeah, it's that Friday. That's right. Where you actually do an online test, just like you would do, a driver's license test, just normal driver's license, where you go into the DMV and, you do the computer test. Same thing for the CDL. So usually I think it's on that Thursday or Friday. It's jam-packed that first week. And you might have to do some studying after. You should make sure you pass and all that. And it's actually, a lot of people don't get it done first time. And it's not as easy as people think. I'm telling you. And this is someone that's done a little bit of college. Let me tell you, it's jam-packed, because they pushing you through. They jam-packed, son. It's a lot of information really quick. I'm going to be honest. And, you know, then you do the test. It's, you know, I guess dozens of questions on the curriculum. And after that, you pass, hopefully. You get your permit. Now, that permit gives you the ability to drive a commercial vehicle with another commercial driver that has a license. And that gets you through the next step of the program, where eventually, the next week, you're going to start actually driving a truck a little bit. So after you get that permit, you can do that now. You're going to have the weekend off. And then the next week, you're going to... Actually, I think maybe I should be talking about my experience. I'm trying to talk about the whole thing. Maybe I was going to do a separate video. I don't know. But maybe I don't know if I really want to do my experience or the whole thing. Maybe I'll do a little bit of both. Anyway, so then the following week, the start of week 2, you're actually getting out on the yard. And there's 2 parts of it that are going on. One is the driving in a lot, and just an enclosed lot, and you're working on your backing up skills. You know, obviously it starts easy, just straight back type stuff. And then you start getting more advanced, where you're doing specific maneuvers, some of which you don't even do out here in the real world, much or at all. But it's to get your skills, and it's to get you familiarized, and to kind of weed out those that just shouldn't be out on the road, to be honest. And then the other half of it, so you're going to be spending half your day doing that, and then half your day actually driving a truck with your professional driver in your passenger seat, you know, instructing you on the rights and the wrongs and helping y'all. And, you know, like I said, I can't remember if I was wanting to do my experience. And, I guess I've already started on that, but I've kind of really also tanged it off on the whole thing itself, not just my experience. But I want to touch on, I guess, since I have my experience with that week 2. You know, I did it to where we were doing a manual truck, and because I just for the heck of it, I didn't want to have that automatic restriction. So for those that don't know, with the commercial vehicles, if you test in an automatic vehicle, you have a restriction on your license where you cannot legally drive a stick shift or manual commercial motor vehicle. And just for the heck of it, I decided, man, I want to do the whole thing. Who knows, you know, if you want to be an owner-operator someday, drive an older truck, you know, the automatics are definitely, you know, the most common thing out here. But a lot of guys are doing really well driving their older trucks, their manual trucks. And, you know, you never know. You might want to work for a small, you know, carrier, and they got manual trucks. You never know what you might want to get into in this industry. So, you know, we were doing that. And then also when we were driving around town and driving kind of locally in the area for that half of the day, my group, smaller group, because most people did not want to do the manual. It was only me and like, I think 2 other guys, might have been 3. And, you know, you're actually all in the truck at once. So the other guys, they'll have it, instead of a bed back here, or at least our truck, they had seats back there. So you'd have a driver, you'd have the professional driver, your trainer, in the passenger seat, and you'd have your other gentleman. You would take turns. You would park on the side, and then you'd switch. And that's what we did for half the day. And then your other half of the day is going in the lot and doing backing maneuvers and just taking turns doing backing maneuvers. And, you know, it was, man, it was a hell of an experience, man. My trainer over there at TDI, Truck Drivers Institute, over there, I believe it's Forsyth, Georgia. Man, they did an awesome job. That trainer blew me away. 2 of the trainers there really blew me away. One of them on the backing skills. I saw this guy do something that literally blew my mind. He did the craziest high-speed backing maneuver. It was the end of the day. They were putting the trucks back in the positions. We were getting ready to leave. And he did this high-speed, like, 90-degree or parallel park maneuver. I can't even remember. This shit was insane. The speed at which and the precision. Even today, I was, holy cow, that guy's got some skills, man. Wow. John over there. And the other one, my experience with the guy when we were driving around the area locally, man, it was such a cool experience when we started. And hold on, I just gotta move real quick. We're in a line. I gotta move up just a little. But it was such a cool experience when we started. He scared the living shit out of all of us because what he did, you know, as a driver that doesn't drive professionally, well, we parked on the side of the interstate and just sat there. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing? It's kind of anxiety riding for people that don't drive professionally to sit on the side of the interstate. But as a professional driver, it's literally almost a safe haven. It actually feels safe and whatnot. It's a different deal. Anyway, he scared the living shit out of me, man, and all of us. When we parked on the side of that interstate, and he, on the side of the interstate, went through the basics of operating a commercial motor vehicle manual. The whole, you know, the getting into the gear, and this, it's a little different because I've got plenty of experience driving. My main personal vehicle is a manual. I've driven manuals. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, 16 years old, my mom had a manual speed little car, and that was the car I took my driver test in, actually, believe it or not. You know, back in, I guess, about I guess it was like 2009 or something like that. Maybe a little earlier. Anyway, point is, I've got plenty of experience with that, but the truck is definitely a different deal. Very different. It takes a lot more skill, precision, without a doubt. Okay? And he's going through this, and I'm freaking out because, for one thing, I was first. I decided to go first. But I'm freaking out, man, because we're on the side of the interstate, and it's just such a nerve-wracking deal. But we're also in the moment. It's kind of a pressure. It is a pressure test. Because as a truck driver, you're going to notice this. You're going to learn this. The amount of pressure that you get put under when you're new is critical. It's kind of like in the military, kind of beating you down to build you back up. And that pressure cooker, and you got to push your limits of that pressure, because you're going to have to make decisions out here on the road that are pressure filled, where someone's life could be at stake. It happens all the time. And decisions that you have to make on the fly under pressure in unfamiliar places, it's every day. It's every single day. So you got to go through that. And he did a great job of putting us through that pressure. It's intentional, and it was beautiful because it's so necessary. And man, it was nerve-wracking. But, you know, we managed through that. We made it through. And spent the week just doing that. You know, just half your day doing either or both. And hopefully by the end of that first week, you're pretty darn good at the backing stuff you need to do. And then I believe the way it goes, from what I remember, I think the start of the third week, you have a few days of kind of, oh, that's another thing. That's a big deal, is learning the pre-trips, the whole extensive, fine detailed stuff you got to do with the pre-trips. You got to know it front, back, forwards, blindfolded, underwater, upside down, chest move, all that. Okay? And that's what you're doing on that second week along with your driving. So normally when you get out of class, you're going to be doing your studying of your pre-trips, okay? And a little bit during the day while you're, you know, doing your driving stuff. But for the most part, a lot of that should be outside of class. You want to make sure, if you don't do your due diligence, you will fail first time. You have to put the work in, okay? And then the third week, the beginning of the third week, you're doing the same thing. But usually about halfway into that third week, they start testing people. And by the end of that third week, everybody should be done testing. You either pass or fail. And obviously, anyway, point is, you know, so you might be looking to test on a Wednesday of that third week or something. And I remember that third week, the back end I was pretty darn good on. I wasn't too worried about it. You know, and you're doing like the main 3 movements. You're not just doing random. They have 3 or 4 particular movements that of backing procedures that get you that skill, get you that precision, get you that little experience. And half of them are common in the industry, half of them not so much. And, you know, that's what you're just doing. Repetition, doing them, you know, again and again and again. And you're just taking turns with the other drivers. And that takes time throughout the day. So you might only get a handful of times in a day to actually do it. So make the most of it. And I'll tell you my experience leading up to the test. We had our worst day with the manual transition as a group and myself the day before the test, okay? The day before we were starting testing and I was going to test, it was the worst day for us. We're missing a few shifts. We couldn't get it in gear a little here and there. We had been actually doing better. It's kind of when I find that when I'm learning something, I learn it, get better. And then all of a sudden, right before I get it perfect, I fall off. And then all of a sudden, once I fight through that, I got it. And it was like that with me and the whole group. That last day, man, we were all nervous because we had a bad day. The instructor had to give it to us real. And we were looking like we were on the verge to fail. Because you cannot miss one shift without putting it back in gear. You have to stay in gear. And if you get out of gear, you have to be able to put it back in, and you have to do it under pressure with little experience, to be honest. And if you don't, I think they give you a certain amount of time. If you can't get it back in gear, you fail. Simple as that. Doesn't matter how good you did on everything else. That's it. So I know I was nervous. So I had my manual car. I was staying in a hotel down the street with everybody. And that night, I woke up about 2 or 3 hours. I think I woke up maybe 3 hours early before we go to class. And I'm driving around the exact route that we've been testing with. And it actually was the same route that we did for the official test for the CDL. And I'm driving that route. I did it. I might have done it a dozen times. And I'm going through the shifts in my car. I'm talking out loud on exactly what gear I should be in at a certain time and when I need to, do different things with the manual transition, like with the splitter, with the double clutch. The double clutch, I had already been practicing it for months, kind of leading up to this in my personal car. And, I just drove that route. Matter of fact, that morning one of the guys, the first thing he asked me when we got to class in front of the instructor and everybody, Johnny, what time did you wake up this morning? And I said, I think about 4 a.m. And everybody was amazed because nobody else was doing that. I was determined. I'm going to pass first time. I cannot have a failure. I need to make this happen right now. And I want to get to making money as soon as possible. No one else was doing that. And that work showed out. It proved itself. Because the mistakes I had made the day before, I had corrected them in my mind. And I went and take the test. And the way it works, let's see if I can remember. You've got, the two different parts of the test is what you've been doing, where you have certain assigned backing maneuver you have to do, and then you have the actual driving test, which is a whole round trip, and they put you through certain stress tests, and they put you through certain situations like driving over a railroad track, certain things you're supposed to do. They tell you that you're under a hazmat load, so you have to stop and put your flashers on, and all of that is kind of tough in a manual truck because you got to make sure you can get it back in gear and that you know what you're doing with the gears and the shifting. So, and you have to remember that, because you don't know you're under a hazmat load. They instruct you that you're under a hazmat load, and you have to remember, you have to treat the load like it's a hazmat, even though you got I guess it was a little dry van that we were doing. We practiced in a flatbed, by the way, on the road with our group in the manual truck. And, it was the backing was good. Honestly, I can't even remember what backing maneuver I got. It was all good. But the driving test, definitely a little nervous. But hey, I'm as ready as I'm going to be. Let's do this. And I go do it. And, I'm remembering my shifts at the beginning. The beginning was one of the most critical parts. There's a really important shifts in the beginning. And I'm shifting in a way, and I'm handling my business in a way that the instructor feels that I'm an experienced driver or something, because he starts talking to me just casually, like he just wants to talk to me. And I'm not even responding at this point. I think I answered one of his questions, whatever it was, personal question. After that, I was focused on my business. And maybe he thought I was good to go. Like, I've done this before. I have not, okay? I've just practiced, and I'm determined here, okay? And, he understood that I was just wanting to focus on my deal and maybe a little nervous. And there was one time where I can't remember if I missed a shift or something, but it got out of gear. Man, under pressure, baby. And that's actually how he was. I could tell he was maybe impressed, but like, that's when he started talking casually, because I recovered and I did a beautiful job. Like, it didn't even faze me, didn't even bother me. You can tell I'm a little nervous, but man, I recovered beautifully. Exactly like how you would want somebody to recover in that situation. And man, it was just that little deal could have failed me right then. I couldn't get it if I couldn't have got it back in gear, but I recovered beautifully. I think I missed the right gear or something, and the truck's coasting for a moment, but I do what I need to do, rev the engine, rev match, and get her back in gear, baby, and I was good to go. Man, that was a load off my mind, but you never know, it could happen again, because where it happened was an unusual place, and it was in near the very beginning of the whole deal. So I was worried. I'm like, holy cow. Not really. I wasn't actually really worried, but it was concerning because it could happen again. It could happen another time. It could happen 2 more times, and you have to pay attention to all the things, the wide turning and the signaling. You have to drive extremely proper, all the signaling, perfect timing, all that stuff, or you get dinged. And I did really good. Passed first time. Only had one little infraction on the driving test, but still good to go. And that was my experience, man. It was just such a relief, and I was so just such a relief, and I don't know, exuberant is the right word, but it was a really good drive back home that day. We were, most people passed. There's only a few people that didn't, and we're congratulating each other. We're kind of we've been together for several weeks now, and even staying at the same hotel, and we're all congratulating each other and going through it, and this, that, and the other. And then it's the next process where they help you, they help you get in touch with recruiters at different companies, and there's a little process of stuff like that afterwards. That's just kind of the fun part after that. And then also you're getting might be getting a gift bag from them. You're getting your basically a diploma. It's like a from them and stuff like that. And that's the fun part. And then eventually you take the little slip or whatever they give you, saying that you passed with a certified, tester. You take that to the DMV, and that's the fun time. You go up there, baby, and you slide that thing to the person at the DMV. And then you get your CDL, baby. You get your license to make some money. Once again, don't get into trucking. It's going to be no good for you. It can be good for some people, though. But that was my experience. And right at time to head out. So see you later. If you like this, if you learned something, you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Maybe I'll leave this video open to comment, share your experience, this, that, and the other. I appreciate you for watching. I hope you were engaged, entertained, and I hope that this steers you away from the trucking industry.